Hi, I hope you're doing well today. This is Dan here, and in this lesson I'm going to teach you how to play a really good blues bass line. This piece is in the key of B minor, so that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with what notes sound good. So everything I was using in the intro there were really 3 scales, and you really must know the key. That's the basis of what notes are going to work. So if you don't know that scale, you need to know it. For solos, it's just absolutely perfect. We're in the key of B minor. So I'm starting this on the 7th fret of the E string, and this is just a B minor pentatonic scale. Just one shape across the neck like that. The other scale I was playing that features a lot in blues is a blues scale. You may have heard of that. It's exactly the same as this. You just add a flat 5 to this and you get a blues scale. That's the flat 5. I just played a scale up and down there, and doesn't it just sound good already? It's how you play these notes that are going to bring it to life and that's going to make it sound like a proper solo. But anyway, you've got your minor pentatonic and you've got your blues scale, which is more or less the same. And we're in the key of B minor, B natural minor. Which, look, it's this. And that was just playing it in the next octave. All of those notes, they fit and they work. So in terms of note selection for this particular lesson, that's what we're using. Now in a blues, you've got lots of different forms of blues, jazz blues, major blues, but for now I'm just going to stick to this lovely minor blues. There's an amazing bass solo by a guy called Jimmy Lee Moore. It's just the most amazing, soulful, bluesy bass solo that you've ever heard. I love it, one of my favorites. Once you have the scale down, what you need to do, and let's simplify things a little bit, you need to learn the notes in different positions. So you may have seen me going up to different registers of the bass. That's like pattern 1, if you like, of the B minor pentatonic scale, and there are 5 more. So that's pattern 2, 3, 4, and that's 5. And I can even go, that's 5 again, but just down the octave. So you have a series of patterns that it might take you a bit of time to learn it, but you must do it because those are the notes that are going to sound good. Let's move on to the second piece of the puzzle because you have notes and that's fantastic. The next thing we need to talk about briefly is rhythm. So when you combine the notes that sound good and good rhythms, you combine them into musical sort of phrases, musical sentences. That's what makes sense. That's what's going to make your solo sound good. So the speed of this piece of music, and I'll put a link below so you can download it to practice along to. It's 85 beats per minute, around about this speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to be aware of bars. That's 1 bar, and you could just hold a note. That's a whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got half notes. There's half notes. Quarter notes. 1 on every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you want to express yourself a little bit more, you've got 8ths and 16ths. So 16ths at this speed, there are 4 in every beat. So you can go. So those are 16th notes, and then I did 8ths at the end, okay? So just, you know, whole note, half note, quarter note, 8th note, 16th note. You must be aware of them. When you're playing bass lines, this will figure as well. And then when you have your note selection, you know, your B minor scales that we were using, you've got your rhythms. This is where you can start to make phrases. I'm going to do a few and then I'm just going to break it down. Talking about the third major thing, which is also articulations. Okay, articulations. Let's move on to those now. That's a slide. Hammer on. And that's vibrato at the end. Singers use this a lot. It's when you start to add those kind of expressive techniques in that your playing is going to sound amazing. Let's stay in the one shape that we have here, and we'll go through all of these step by step. So let's go from the 7th to 8th fret of the A string. That's a slide. I'm using my third finger on the 7th fret, plucking the note and sliding across 2 frets higher. Do not come up off the fretboard, otherwise the note will stop. So keep your finger pressed in. I'm using my third finger because then my first finger is available to play the next notes in the shape. Let's move on to a hammer on. Plucking the 7th fret of the D string and then hammering down with a curled and sort of rigid third finger. The hammer must be as loud as the plucked note. The opposite of that is a pull-off. So I'm already fretting the first finger on the 7th fret. I'm plucking, and then I'm flicking the third finger down towards the floor, and that gets the sound. There's a hammer on followed by a pull-off. I'm doing one pluck. So I'm going D string, frets 7 to 9. Hammer on, pull-off. And there I'm just doing, it's sort of a mixture between a slide and a hammer on. I don't really know what it is, but I'm just going, I'm going from fret 7 to 9. Really like fingers 1, 2, 3 on the fret 7, 8, 9. It's something that sounds good to me. Little vibrato at the end. I haven't talked about bends. This is a great place to bend. I'm going to the 9th fret on the G string, that's the note E. I'm actually using 2 fingers here, 2nd and 3rd, getting my thumb over the top so that I can really squeeze to bend the pitch upwards. I'm only going a half step, and that's taking me to that blues note. You hear this so much in guitar playing. There are different types of bends. You can stay at the top, pluck again and release. But the point is, it just sounds really cool. If you have any note that's a fret higher, it's quite an easy bend. It's a half step bend. You can bend one tone. It requires a lot more strength. So perhaps stick to the, do this down the octave as well. You can actually bend down towards the floor. I'm using 2 fingers though for the strength. Short notes, long notes. So I did a bend. At the top I released the bend and then came down the minor pentatonic scale and then played those 2 notes again, making the first one short and the second one a bit longer. It's always strange me explaining this when I break this down, because I'm certainly not thinking about any of this stuff when I'm playing a solo. Neither are your favourite bass players, and nor should you when you start to get this together. You have to know the note selections, the scales, 100%. You've got to be very comfortable with rhythms, and that's you tapping your foot, and that's you playing along to backing tracks and making sure that you're studying rhythms. And it's also you having articulations under your fingers. If I went, everything was plucked there. I went from the lowest note of the shape to the top. Sorry, where's that? That's the 7th fret, that's the D. And then I returned down to the 9th fret of the D string. That was all plucked. Holding a note there. Let's talk about phrases. I'm talking in sentences, we converse in sentences, and that's how you need to think about your solos when you're doing one. So, something like, that's a short phrase, little slide. Vibrato, I'm just selecting 4 notes from the scale and just doing that. I'm developing the idea by repeating it and doing something a little bit different. Repetition is so important in solos. I'm going to press play. I'm going to do a few things, and if there's something that catches my ear, I'm going to stop and explain what I did. But I'm going to do a lot of repetition and short phrases. See there, I went. So that's just, there's your 1 octave B minor blues scale. And I went from the highest note, plucking, descending. There's that flat 5. And what I did here, a really cool sounding articulation. I plucked and I'm on that flat 5, that's on fret 8. I've already got the first finger pressing down so that when I do a pull off, it pulls off to that note. You always go from a higher pitch note to a lower pitch note when you do a pull off. So, and then plucked. And I left a gap. Gaps are very important. All of those articulations, they bring soul, flair, the blues to your playing. So it's essentially you're learning a bunch of notes that fit. You can, of course, break any of these rules, but I'm trying to keep things quite simple for you. Notes that fit, rhythms, combine the two with some interesting techniques, into phrases, and you've got your solos. There's a fair few ideas in this lesson. You can watch it again. I've got some other videos that go into this. That backing track came from my new course, From Beginner to Basis, where I don't go as sort of complex into the playing. I keep things a bit simpler. So if you're a beginner and you want to sort of go over this, and I've got 7 other different styles, then do check that out. But for now, what I want you to do is just learn the minor pentatonic scale all the way across the neck. You just stick the flat 5 in there and you've got the blues scale. Maybe even don't play any B natural minor, but you can if you want. Just stick to the minor pentatonic and the blues, and use those scales to work on hammer-ons. I'm just playing a scale going up and doing a hammer-on every time. Between fingers 1 and 4. That works on the pinky. That's a lot of people's weak spot. Opposite, pull off. You can't really express yourself unless these things are under your fingers and really in your brain. Okay, that's where practice comes in. So those are pull-offs, and then you can do slides. You can slide up or down. I'm just sticking to one shape. And there I'm moving up a string. So if you want to break out of one shape, then do. But to keep it simple, stay in one shape. Bends. And that was just that blues note because it's half a step away from that note, so it's easy for me to do. Picking or plucking. Just randomly doing patterns. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you did get anything from it, then please do subscribe to the channel, like, share the video, all that stuff. And if you have any questions, let me know.